All right, everyone, get ready. Because today we're going deep, really deep, into the world of service design,
And buckle up.
specifically at Spotify.
Yeah, Spotify.
A lot of you have been asking about, how does service design thinking actually impact a company's bottom line?
The real nitty-gritty.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And believe me, it is so much more than, just like making an app look pretty or a website look slick.
It really is. It's much more.
It's a lot more, yeah.
It's kind of like think about when you go to a concert, right?
Okay.
You're enjoying the music, the lights are awesome, the energy is there.
Yeah.
But behind the scenes, there's this whole intricate operation making sure everything runs without a hitch.
Oh, for sure. Tons of people backstage.
That's kind of what service design does for a company.
Yeah, okay.
It's kind of like the force you don't really see
Gotcha.
that orchestrates the whole seamless experience for the user.
I love that analogy.
Yeah.
And so to really drive that point home, can you give me like a real world example of what like bad service design looks like?
Oh gosh, I'm sure we've all been there, right? Like
Uh,
that super frustrating moment when you call customer service and you have to repeat your information like over and over and over.
Every single time to a different person.
Yes, to different agents. Classic example of a disjointed, really clunky service experience.
Oh, don't even get me started.
Yeah.
I can feel my blood pressure rising just thinking about that. So what would good service design look like in that same situation?
Okay, so imagine this.
Okay.
You need to open a bank account.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of filling out like a million forms and waiting in line forever, you snap a quick selfie, scan your passport,
Oh, wow.
boom, account open in under 5 minutes.
Amazing.
That's the power of really good service design, right? Like
Yeah.
anticipating what the user needs and creating a super smooth, like frictionless flow.
That sounds fantastic.
Right.
Okay, so Spotify, obviously a massive company, billions of users, everyone knows them. When did they like seriously start investing in service design? Was this like way back in the early days, or is this, something more recent?
It's actually a pretty recent thing. They hired their first like dedicated in-house service designer in January of 2022.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, which wasn't that long ago when you think about it.
Yeah.
And what's really fascinating is that in just 1 year, that team grew to over 30 service designers.
So that's like a 3,000% increase?
Yeah, it's massive.
So there must have been like a pretty big reason for that kind of investment.
Yeah, it really shows how Spotify's priorities are kind of changing and evolving. And as they grow more and more and they're expanding into all these new markets, they're facing more complex challenges.
Oh, yeah.
Think about it. They have to manage licensing agreements for millions of songs across 184 markets.
Oh, wow.
Make sure that the platform is safe for nearly 500 million users. And they always have to innovate and come up with new stuff to stay ahead of the competition.
Oh, definitely.
So, service design really helps them tackle all of that,
Yeah, so it sounds like they're not just like sprinkling, a little bit of service design fairy dust here and there.
No.
Like they're really weaving it into like the fabric of the company.
Absolutely. And, the Spotify design article we have, it really digs into all that.
Okay.
They've got service designers embedded in all sorts of teams, legal, licensing, product, engineering,
Wow.
all working together to like optimize how everything works and improve experiences, both for the people listening and the people who work there,
So it really is about so much more than just, making the app look good. It's about tackling those like huge operational challenges and finding ways to improve efficiency.
Exactly.
Good.
And that has a direct impact on their bottom line.
Okay, so give me an example. How's that actually working?
Well, for example, there is Grace, who works in the business affairs unit.
Okay.
She talked about how she uses service design to actually save Spotify time and money.
Okay, hold on. Stop right there. Tell me more about Grace. How is she using service design to save the company money? I'm all ears.
So Grace, she's focused on strategic planning
Okay.
and really optimizing how resources are used in her unit, right?
Mhm.
And they handle like a ton of complex licensing agreements. So, efficiency is key.
Yeah, I bet.
Imagine, you're trying to manage all this content for millions of songs across 184 markets. It's massive.
Yeah. That is mind-boggling.
Yeah.
So how does service design even like fit into all that? What does she do?
Well, by using things like service blueprints,
Okay.
which basically visually map out every single step and touch point in a service,
Mhm.
Grace can actually pinpoint where things are slowing down.
Okay.
She can find the bottlenecks,
Yeah.
the redundancies, and then she comes up with really creative solutions, right?
Yeah.
To kind of streamline that process.
Okay, so wait, back up for a second. You mentioned service blueprints. Can you like break that down for me a little more? What exactly is that?
Oh, yeah, sure. A service blueprint is basically like a diagram. A visual diagram, I guess.
Hmm.
And it maps out the whole service experience, from beginning to end. It shows you all the different steps, who's responsible for each step, and all the different points where a user's actually interacting with the service.
So it's kind of like a peek behind the curtain
Oh, right. Exactly.
of how everything is working.
It's a behind-the-scenes look
Okay.
at how the sausage is made.
Okay, so kind of like a giant flow chart,
Yeah.
Helps you see the big picture and figure out like what needs work.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh.
And so by using tools like that, Grace can help teams be more efficient, right?
Mhm.
Reduce errors and ultimately save the company a ton of money.
Yeah.
So that's like a pretty tangible ROI.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So optimizing internal processes. That's one big way that service design can have an impact on Spotify's bottom line. What are some other examples? Like how else are they using this?
Well, there's Rebecca, another service designer.
Right?
She focuses specifically on messaging at Spotify.
Messaging. Okay.
So she's all about, improving how they communicate with their users,
Right.
everything, emails, push notifications, those messages that pop up in the app.
You know what? I've always wondered about that. With, hundreds of millions of users, how do they make sure that like the right message is getting to the right person at the right time?
Right.
It seems like an impossible task.
It really is. And that's where service design comes in.
Okay.
So Rebecca and her team, they use this really cool technique called journey mapping.
Journey mapping. Okay.
Yeah. To understand how users are interacting with Spotify,
Mhm.
At different stages. So that helps them identify those key moments where, a well-crafted message can actually have a huge impact.
Wait, another new term. Can you break down journey mapping for me? What exactly is that?
Sure. A journey map it's basically like a visual story of a user's experience with a service.
Okay.
It shows all the different touch points, their emotions, like where they get frustrated, those moments where they're like, yes, this is awesome.
Gotcha.
So by creating these maps, Rebecca and her team can really see the experience through the eyes of the user.
Okay.
And then design messaging that actually makes sense.
So like instead of just blasting everyone with the same, generic messages,
Yeah.
they can make it more personal.
Exactly.
Okay, that makes sense. But I have a question. Spotify, they're known for being like super fast paced,
Yeah.
that agile culture, moving quickly.
Right.
Doesn't that like clash sometimes with service design, which is a lot more, strategic and in depth?
That's a great point.
Yeah.
It definitely is a balancing act. But, in the YouTube video we watched, one of the service designers said something that I thought was really interesting.
Yeah.
She said it's kind of like adjusting a pipe.
Adjusting a pipe.
You need to find the right flow,
Yeah.
so that teams don't get overwhelmed, but they're still getting all the information and insights that they actually need.
So it's all about finding that sweet spot, that balance.
Exactly.
Adapting the service design process
Yeah.
to fit Spotify's way of working.
Yeah. It's not about, forcing something that doesn't fit. It's about being flexible and creative and finding those solutions that really work within their culture.
I love that. It's interesting to think about how Spotify's like global teams, they're all over the place.
Yeah.
Could that actually be an advantage for service design?
Oh, that's an interesting thought.
Yeah, because at first I was thinking, it's got to be more difficult, right?
Huh.
To get everyone on the same page when you're spread out all over the world.
You'd think so, right?
Wow.
But actually, having teams that are geographically dispersed forces service designers to be super intentional about how they communicate.
Okay.
They have to rely on digital tools, asynchronous feedback,
Yeah.
clear documentation,
Yeah.
which in the end can actually make the process even more streamlined and efficient.
Yeah. It's like that saying, necessity is the mother of invention, right?
Exactly. And speaking of invention, let's talk about Marco. He's doing some really interesting work with internal tools and platform safety at Spotify.
Okay, fill me in. I'm ready for another aha moment. So Marco, internal tools, platform safety, what's he up to?
So his work, it's like a perfect example of how service design can really have a huge impact in those areas that most users don't even know exist.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, like behind the scenes.
Yeah, exactly. He focuses on making sure that all the tools that Spotify employees use every day are easy to use, they're efficient, and they really support a good workflow.
So it's kind of like service design, but for like the people behind the curtain.
Exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
And this can have a huge, huge impact on the bottom line. Think about it. If a tool's clunky or it's confusing to use,
Yeah.
people are going to waste time, right? More errors, frustration goes up.
Yep.
But a well-designed tool
Yeah.
that streamlines everything, productivity goes up, and that saves the company money in the long run.
It's so true. You know, it's funny. I think we often just like assume that design is all about, the things we see and touch. But this whole conversation has really like made me think differently.
Right.
It's like there's so much more to it.
Yeah, it's like the foundation of a house. You don't see it,
Right.
but it's crucial. You need it for everything else to work right.
Absolutely.
And, when it comes to platform safety, Marco's work, that has a direct impact on whether users trust Spotify
Oh, yeah, for sure.
and, ultimately their reputation as a company.
Okay. That makes a lot of sense. So how does he actually how does he approach, something as technical as platform safety? What does that look like?
Well, it all starts with understanding the needs of everyone, really.
Okay.
The users and the people who are working to keep the platform safe. So he'll use things like journey mapping, we talked about that earlier, to map out all the different ways that someone might come across something harmful, or experience, some kind of security issue. And by understanding those potential pain points, he can come up with really smart solutions that, that are proactive, that are user-friendly and effective.
So like one step ahead.
Yeah, exactly.
Anticipating the problems and building things in a way that prevents them from happening.
Yeah, you got it. And, in the long run, that saves Spotify tons of time and money because they're not constantly dealing with issues.
Right.
And it makes users feel better, too,
Yeah.
knowing that Spotify is actually taking their safety seriously.
Absolutely. It builds that trust. This whole deep dive has been so insightful. We've covered so
Oh,
many.
we really have.
Yeah. Streamlining those licensing agreements, making the communication more personal, platform safety. It's pretty amazing to see how service design is being used to tackle so many different challenges, and how it all ties back to Spotify being successful.
It really shows how versatile service design is. It can be used everywhere. And you know what I thought was really interesting? All the different service designers that we've talked about, they all see themselves as generalists, but they're all specialized too in a way.
Oh.
They need to be super adaptable, able to switch between the big picture and those tiny little details.
So they're like service design chameleons.
Yeah.
Blending in with all the teams, different projects, using what they know to solve problems, whatever comes up.
Exactly.
But they also need a deep understanding of those specific areas.
Oh, absolutely. Like licensing or, messaging, whatever their specialty is.
This has been such a fascinating look into service design at Spotify. I think if we could, boil it down to one takeaway for our listeners, it would be, service design is not just about making things pretty. It's about creating systems and experiences that work. They're efficient, they're effective, and ultimately they, help the business succeed.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Spotify's a great example, right?
Yeah.
Investing in service design, it can have a huge impact on any company,
Yeah.
Saving time, saving money, making users happier, and, keeping them coming back for more.
So if you're out there listening, maybe you're thinking, hey, how can I use service design in my own work or even in my life?
Yeah.
I would say start by thinking about how you can improve experiences. The processes that you use every single day, the way you interact with, customers or your colleagues. Could things be smoother, more efficient, more delightful? Think about it.
That's a great starting point. And don't forget, there's no one right answer with service design. You got to be adaptable, experiment, keep trying to make things better,
And on that note, we've reached the end of our deep dive into the world of service design at Spotify.
It's been a great journey.
We learned that it's a super powerful tool for dealing with those really complex challenges, improving efficiency, creating those experiences that people love, and ultimately, helping businesses grow and be successful.
And service design, it's always evolving, always changing. It's exciting to see how companies like Spotify are using it to really shape the future of, their industries and beyond. I definitely encourage you to keep learning more. There's a ton of resources out there.
So until next time, keep exploring, keep asking those questions, and keep designing for a better world.